Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Prince Magnum channel where hot rodding and romance do coexist. I'm your host, Prince Magnum. Welcome to another one of my live streams. Welcome to Do It Yourself Budget Hot Rodding, and welcome to another unboxing and talk about the prep work that's going in, getting as we get closer to sending Project Spirit into the shop for her automatic transmission swap. So, we got a lot of ground to cover. We're also going to go out and take a look at a few things on Project Spirit. There's going to be a lot of talk about the upcoming project because and kind of understanding the mentality that goes behind all of this. And I know Think Different. What's going on, buddy? I know you are just as excited as everybody else about this. What's going on? If it isn't our dear friend Vault Girl, we got a lot of ground to cover for Project Spirit. We're also going to go over a lot of the parts that we now have for Project Spirit. We're getting closer to that time. Project Spirit will be going into the shop the last week of September is what we're shooting for. So basically, she will be gone for about, I'm going to say about anywhere from 3 weeks to, 3 days up to a week. So that is what we're looking at right now. So that's what's happening there. Basically, Project Spirit's going to go over there. She's going to do, it's going to be all right. It's going to be awesome, awesome, awesome. So we're going to talk about, like I said, we got the unboxing. Today, we're going to look at a lot of the various parts that's going to be going into Project Spirit. And we get to do the running gag again because I have a transmission sitting right over there, which sometime in the next couple of weeks we'll be going over to see our friends at Torque Diesel and Auto. So we'll talk about all of that in this particular live stream. So we're going to get you all caught up to speed. And yes, we will go out and visit Project Spirit. I know you all want to see the old girl and see a lot of the changes that has happened just this year alone. Just this year. Okay, we're talking that this has not been where parts come in and there's nothing happening. No, there's been a lot that's happened with Spirit just this year alone. Project Spirit has had a lot done to her. We've got, we redid the ignition panel so it looks like it's more natural, and we got the new steering wheel in. We've got the new dash cab, the new dome light cover, along with the LED for that dome light. We've got, we did the rear, the rear valence or the taillight panels. And sometimes, either name is fine. So we've done a lot of these things. So there's going to be a lot of talk of what has happened to Spirit. Spirit is not the same car that we started with at the beginning of the year. As far as looks go, we have not done a whole lot in the way of, we have done some mechanical stuff, but most of that's been off camera. So we're going to cover a lot of ground today. So it's going to be a lot of fun, So if you guys wanted to learn some things about these old cars, today's a great day to do it. So if you decide, I know there's probably going to be some members of the Sunnies that are going to come in, if they're not already lurky turkey in the background right now, that are going to be, that have considered doing projects. I know there's some people in the gaming community. I know Vault Girl is one of them that would like her own old car, has more or less told her hubby, psychopath Jason Killer, hey, I wouldn't mind having something like this. This would be freaking awesome. And so God only knows what's going to happen there. We're going to, I'm going to basically walk you guys through a lot of this stuff. And we kind of touched base yesterday on some problems that Spirit's had and how we could have gotten around it, but we basically came to the conclusion that the best way to handle this situation is to just change out the automatic, change out the manual, go to automatic, because the parts are more available. So we're going to talk a lot about that as well in this particular live stream. So we're going to definitely cover a lot of ground. What's going on, Queen Bee? Real quick, for those who do not know, Miss Queen Bee, her husband, TFZ Gaming, which evidently he's probably going to be changing over from gaming and going to DIY custom cars. And his project car is an 80s iRock Z. What's going on, Chairman? And I have been watching him work on this iRock Z through photo, and I am more than impressed. I am blown away by just the sheer, I mean, this car's in great shape to begin with, and here he's doing all this stuff. I mean, I'm impressed. I'm really impressed. Them old Camaro, those old 80s Camaros don't get enough love, for how neat looking they are. A lot of people automatically go to the Pontiac Trans Ams, the Pontiac Firebirds. A lot of people kind of gravitate towards those. And those cars had a lot of problems with overheating. The Camaros didn't have that problem. Chevrolet worked those problems out, and it was more or less a cosmetic issue. I know when I talked to, third gen 83, oh yeah, it's gorgeous looking, right? When I talked to third gen 83, he has his Maverick that he's had forever and a day, but he's building an 83 Pontiac Trans Am. Well, it started off as a Firebird, but he converted it to a Trans Am, and he was talking about the overheating issues with those cars. And as we were talking about it, I said, yeah, they've got a lot of issues. So we got a lot of stuff. We got a lot of ground to cover with Spirit. So for those of you who wanted to see more Project Spirit, that's all right. I know he's been having a lot of troubles, but if Ian does stop in, we'll just give him all the love he deserves. And of course, we kind of had almost a dead live stream last night. It was kind of dead for what we're used to doing the makeup live stream. We did another Boy George look, which was a lot of fun. I think when I looked, it was sitting at something like right around 50 something when I looked last. And that's really low for those particular live streams. I was really kind of shocked by that. That was really kind of shocking. But that's all right. That's all right, Chairman. I appreciate you leaving the like. I appreciate you being there. So it was definitely it was still a fun stream, but it was kind of dead for what I'm used to. Usually those are jumping live streams, and it just wasn't. So I mean, I wasn't necessarily bummed, but I was kind of surprised. Normally, I know when the biggest one we did as far as those live streams, I know the biggest one that we did was the one where the first Boy George makeup live stream was probably the biggest. Of course, right now summer's in full swing, so a lot of people are now starting to get out. Because everything's coming off of quarantine. So even though the pandemic isn't still in full swing, so we're definitely going to cover a lot of ground. What the heck is going on? So that's kind of the gist of it. Just one of them things. So again, for those that this is going to be kind of getting you caught up to speed. With these old Fords, there's going to be some interesting stuff that we're going to kind of cover. Some stuff that you may have known, may not have known. Just kind of. I know there's a lot of people now in the gaming community that are saying, "Hey, maybe I need, a project car of my own." And it's all about inspiring people to, I don't want to be that guy that, that knocks video games, because I love video games too. I enjoy video games. But what I'm going to say is, getting out there and building your own project. I mean, when you beat a game, yeah, it's fun. It's exciting. The thrills is there. But, and even if you do it in a live stream, that's a short-lived moment of glory in some way, shape, or form. You've got to move on to the next project. You got to move on to the next live stream. You got to beat that game, however many takes it takes, and things like that. And even when I've done the video game lives and things like that, to me it always feels short-lived. Yeah, the videos are always there, blah 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 blah. But in the end, when you build a project car and you're still driving it, that moment of glory lasts a whole lot longer than you think. I mean, every piece to the puzzle, we started off when we started building Project Spirit. She was a clunker, she was definitely in rough shape. But, after a month of hard work, we put her on the road, And yeah, we've had those moments where things break. I mean, it's an old car. We're talking a car that's, this November, Project Spirit's going to be 46 years old this November, okay? And I'm not going to say that, yeah, I've street raced her a couple of times, but I'm going to be straight up honest. Even when I do lose a street race, you're talking about an original engine that's almost 50 years old by now. And I felt confident enough that she could hold her own. And even though she still lost, she was still solid enough that I felt that she would hold her own in a street race against something that had more performance. So if that's any indication, taking a car like that. And so when I say to all of you, even in the gaming community, make that moment last. And the neat thing about this is even though you're still doing video games and still enjoying it and everything, now you have the ambassador to your channel because you're doing more, even more. So if you will, it's like your walking, talking billboard. This is my car. I do more than this, okay? And it doesn't have to be a car, it doesn't have to be a truck. It could be anything. And that's one of the reasons why I believe wholeheartedly that even our dear friend Nerdy Nikki, her channel is so successful because she has expanded beyond, because she still does video games. She does so much more that it blows everyone's minds. So that is, I'm going to get off my soapbox now. So there you have that. Okay. So if you will, I hope by the end of this stream that it inspires all of you, even in the video game community, in the crafts community, to keep doing what you're doing, that sort of thing, to inspire you to do more. Because you guys hear me say it all the time, idle hands and a creative mind go together like oil and water. And I know a lot of you out there have creative minds. So there's my rant for the day. All right, let's take a look at this new part that we got in for Project Spirit. Now, this is directly from Summit Racing. This is not a cheap part, okay? And the company that made this is the actual shift cable now. So we're now getting inside of what's going to be inside the tunnel of Project Spirit. And as you can tell, this is very rigid, okay? So basically, this cable will lock in to the basically the shifter and the actual linkage to the transmission, and will allow me to shift through the gears, okay? And it's a neat little design, and basically it'll run through the tunnel, and there's different ways to obviously tie it in and allow us to basically kind of move and make adjustments so we can move that shifter and still use the bench seat. And for those that do not know, one of the reasons why I love that bench seat so doggone much is because it allows Faye to sit next to me. And as we're cruising down the road on our wonderful dates, it's a lot of fun. So this now makes it a little bit easier. Initially, I was looking at actually getting the actual linkage, but as more and more I looked at it, I thought, no, a universal shift cable would probably be the better choice. So to protect the cable itself, they have this hard, kind of like almost plastic, coating here, and the cable itself rides inside. And this is going to be good for many, many years to come. And again, this is from a company called Locar, and Locar has been making stuff for cars from the muscle car era, from the antique era, for making your own hot rods and things like that. They've been making shifters like this for years for the automatics. So this is a major step up, which will allow us to basically make Spirit into an automatic car. She is a manual powered car. She has her stick shift, 3 speeds. You don't need that many speeds with these old cars. But the other thing that we'll get from changing over to we'll talk a little bit more about that just shortly. So that is the next piece to the puzzle. Now, this came via U.S. mail from our dear friend Third Gen 83. When the assembly, when all of the clutch stuff and everything goes away inside Project Spirit, her brake pedals still work on her own, but there will be nothing attached to that clutch pedal. Now, initially we had considered at one day maybe changing Project Spirit over to rear disc brakes, and then having like a third brake system installed, and I could then install it into that clutch pedal, which would allow me to basically jam and lock up the back brakes and allow me to shift her back in any which direction I need to. And then at the same time, what would then happen as I would do that, I could then throttle up and basically almost like a drift car, but not quite a drift car, but you guys get the general idea. Basically if I wanted to play a little bit, to get some awesome footage, that's what we were considering. Well, Third Gen 83 has suggested that basically we should really keep her more show than kind of a play, a play toy, if you will, that whole thing where we, take her out and play and that stupid stuff. He's kind of said, no, you started off doing more show than anything. You really should stay in that category. So to basically encourage me to stay in that category, he sent this brake pedal, which is more for an automatic. Now, again, this is a pretty neat little deal, but this, and I thought it was brand new. He said, no, it's out of a Maverick. It's original equipment. Okay. So he basically said, this is original equipment, Prince Magnum. It looks brand new, until I got close enough and noticed a little bit of wear on the rubber pad. Now we can replace this, or we could put anything we want on. It's like $6-7 to replace this, and it'll be just fine. So that is something that we might consider doing. So most definitely, if you will, that is another piece to the puzzle. Now, while we're at it, I'm going to kind of rotate the camera back over here, and you can see the back shelf over here. And get up, guys. You don't need to don't Blue Falcon on me. All right, get up. Guys are falling over on me. All right, let's come over here and let's grab a few of the parts that we have also picked up along the way, preparing for this project. So now we've got the new shift cable in. We've got the transmission, which we'll look at here in just a moment, and we'll kind of go over some things. So we got the new shift cable. Now, to keep with what's going on, Mike G? We just opened up we just took out the brand new shift cable and showed it off. Check it out. This is from a company called Locar. Locar has been making stuff for automatic transmit, shift stuff for automatic transmissions for many, many, many years. So this actually just came in, I think, yesterday from Summit Racing. So we kind of went through the specs on this. Oh, Extreme Rules. All right. And the way that you can kind of see as I move it back and forth, that is how it operates. I wasn't 100% sure how it would work, but once this is all mounted into place, once everything's locked in, that cable will then operate. Well, you'll have to I'll work with me here. Basically, this will be tied in somewhere, locked into place, and the cable itself will just work back and forth inside this very, very durable plastic piece. And you can actually feel, I mean, you guys can't, but I can actually feel how rigid and durable this is going to be for many, many years. And this will lock into my transmission and run along the tunnel where the transmission sits, right alongside of it. Will not affect anything. Won't have to worry about anything. No, he hadn't been in, but if he is, I know you guys will take care of business for me. So that is how this will work. So I know this kind of excites me a little bit. Anyhow, so that is how all this will basically piece together. Now, to connect this into the transmission, because obviously that's not going to cut it, sticking up in through the floorboard. What we will need next is a shifter. Now, you guys have a lot of you have already seen this, and we will be basically taking this thing apart and restoring it to its factory condition. Okay, good, Mike. I'm just glad you're here, man. I'm just glad you're here. Just take it in, okay? But basically, you like that, Queen? Okay, basically, just like your regular automatics, it has the push button on the side, just like that, okay? And this is actually out of a 1965 Ford Mustang, this same shifter. Now, when I looked at many of the photos of the automatic shifters, I know it didn't look right. That's why I did it, because I knew it would be funny. But basically, when you looked at the shifters that were offered in the Maverick Grabber Performance Trim Package, please know how I said that. There was no actual performance package for the Mavericks, but the actual trim package for the Mavericks, basically it offered a shifter almost identical to this. The only difference is it did not have this little bend that you see right here. It was just straight up and down. So it angled it more towards the front. And I think it might have had to do with something if someone still wanted the bench seat. That I think it had a lot to do with that. I'm not 100% sure on that. It may and may not. And which, ironically enough, I seen a similar shifter in a 91 Ford Tempo. Ironically enough. Now, basically, the cable will connect in right here. And as I move it back and forth, that will allow me to shift to select my gears. Now, once this goes into place, you can kind of feel as it kind of, moves around a little too much to my liking. Once the shift cable is in place, it'll put enough torque against this and kind of tighten everything up. But this is, again, something out of a 1965 Ford Mustang. So we're talking, how many years? That's many years that this thing's been around. Project Spirit. So this is over 50 years old already. Okay. Actually, as of 1965, that's 55 years old. 55 years old. So this piece needs to be reconditioned. One of the things that I noticed right away, the paint here is fading. Okay. So this piece is going to have to come out. The paint's going to have to be removed, and it's going to have to be resprayed again. And you can see where it's fading. Okay. What's going on, TFZ Gaming? Good to see you, buddy. All right, so we're talking about, reconditioning this sort of stuff here. This piece of plastic here that kind of covers the shift indicator, which you can, it just lines up, okay? No Prindle stick like on your columns that you might be familiar with. There's no Prindle stick to indicate. So here, we're actually, you can see where the plastic has been banged around, chipped up. It doesn't look as good as it used to. So what has to happen is these screws here will have to be removed, and the whole shifter is going to have to come completely and totally apart. And then what will happen is that each piece will be cleaned and reconditioned, and all the rust will be removed. It'll be primed and repainted, put back into place with all new paint, making sure that this stays show worthy for many, 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 many years to come. Why is that important? Again, Project Spirit does car shows. So it just makes sense to take my time, clean everything up, polish every possible piece that I can get. And if any paint is faded, to redo it or restore it to its original factory condition. Because even though this is out of a 65 Mustang, you still want it to look like it belonged, like it's always been there. So take your time on projects like this. So we'll probably be doing this in a live stream at a later date, probably in the next, we might actually start considering doing it sometime this next week, because I get paid tomorrow. I can then put some money on my PayPal card, send off for the next pieces to this puzzle, and that sort of thing. So we have this to work with. And if you're wondering how to get this piece off, right there. It's just a little bolt right there, connects in, real easy to work with, okay? And again, we want to make sure that all the locking mechanisms are in place. We want to make sure that everything in here is tight, okay? Because the last thing we want is be going down the road and this damn thing fail on us. We're talking 55 years now. 55 years is this year alone, okay? So we cannot... got to treat this as it is. Restore, renew, recondition, okay? and so you can reuse those parts. There's no way to really say it. When you're doing a project like this, a lot of times it's renew, reuse, recycle. Okay, so bear that in mind when you're taking a look at your project car. This is a renew, reuse, recycle. Restoring your own car is probably a lot greener than a lot of people think, a lot than they really give credit for. All right, this is not, I mean, we're talking, this is the real deal. We didn't, what's going on, Harold? We got the new Shift Linkage in. Check it out from our the company Low Car, which Summit Racing hooked us up with. So we did an unboxing, and I've been showing this little piece off. And I really wasn't 100% sure because there was no photos really to work with on this particular part of the, on this particular part. Basically, you have a flexible cable inside this. Oh, little Zola, she's roaming around here getting into mischief. She's been driving the other cats berserk, and she's been playing hard. I'll have to get another picture. But basically, it rides inside here like this. And it'll connect into the transmission and that sort of thing, and then connect into the shifter, which we were just talking about the shifter. Which, real quick, I guess I should also show that it came with several different several different mounting pieces and ways to connect everything in. So basically, these parts are designed to be very rigid and very strong. And let me show you what I mean. Looking at the thickness of each one of these brackets, you can see that this is not a cheap piece, okay? You want, the last thing that any of these companies want is the heat of their parts failing after, a couple of years of use. We're talking, this should last me well into 30, 40, 50, years if well maintained. And as long as, we take good care of these vehicles, okay? You made a new video? Drop the link, man. You know that. There you go. That's what's up. So we're talking that each of these pieces, look, again, we're talking, and even in these brackets, okay, this particular finish here is designed to keep this steel from rusting. So we're talking many, many years of use out of this particular, out of this whole thing. And even, I'm going to show you, I know a lot of you might say, well, this is kind of boring. Well, no, this is important, because if you're rebuilding a vehicle or doing any work to a vehicle, I don't care how new or old it is, you want quality parts going back into your project, because if you're going to be laying more, more power or anything like that down, you don't want stuff failing, okay? Look at the welds on this. Precision welds, okay? So this is important. Folks, I can't stress this enough. This universal kit, yes, it did not cost that much, considering that some some of this stuff can get pretty expensive, but it wasn't that expensive. I spent maybe, I think it was like $60, almost $70 after shipping and handling. And again, this is not a cheap cable. So again, I'm going to stress that this part of the project, you're working on a brand new video now. I was doing that a while ago. I've been doing that off and on today. So again, all of these pieces tie into the bigger picture here, okay? Now, we're down to where there's two hard parts that need to be bought for Project Spirit, because we're down to the nitty gritty, if you will. Oh, and we'll talk, well, before we get to those hard parts, okay? Now, and then it's the little stuff. Now, this is the new transmission cooler, okay? Now, this again comes from our friends. Actually, it comes from Napa Auto Parts over in Farmington, Missouri. They hooked us up with this. And basically, this will bolt in somewhere in front of the radiator. Air will pass through this, cooling down the transmission fluid as it comes through. And what this is designed to do is to keep your transmission from overheating. Folks, if you have an automatic transmission, it has to be cool. If that transmission fluid gets too hot, it breaks down. If that fluid breaks down, it isn't lubricating the transmission properly. And worse yet, if the fluid is also breaking down, it's not allowing the transmission to, how do I say this? It's not allowing the transmission to shift properly, okay? Which leads to premature wear and tear to your automatic transmission. Folks, you have to keep your transmissions cool. Now, some car companies for their automatics have swapped over to doing this for their automatics, but folks, it's not enough. All right, for some of these automatics that are out there that have more than 4 gears, we're talking in some cases 8 to 10 gears now. So there you go, Harold. Thank you. Now we can go watch it. So it is super, 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 super important that you find a way to cool these down, especially in modern vehicles. Now, the one that we have here will work just fine. And you can actually kind of see me through the camera on the other side. Again, air will pass through these, cooling down the automatic transmission fluid and allowing the transmission to stay operating, at great temperatures for many, many years to come. Now, along with that, now that we've talked about that, most of the transmissions back in the day, what they did is they had these lines that ran from the transmission and connected into your radiator. And there was this little loop inside the one of the radiator tanks, and that would cool the transmission down. This is, you can see me. And what this allows us to do is basically this will be air cooled, which is not anything wrong with air cooled, but the other way is basically water cooled. You're using you're using your radiator to cool it down. Now, both ways are fine, but this one many people have found on the highways, which is where Project Spirit spends a good deal of her time anyways, will be just fine. But for normal everyday cars that you're just trying to maintain to get you from A to B, sometimes C, D, E, and F, using the one that connects into your transmission is totally fine. Just maintain your radiator, okay? Maintain your radiators, take good care of them, because if those start leaking, if your engine is overheating and you've got an automatic transmission, so's your automatic transmission. It's overheating too. So bear that in mind. So to me, just separating the two made sense. So that is where that part of the project is. So now we've got the transmission cooler. We've got the shift cable along with the hardware to mount. We've got the transmission and the new torque converter, okay? We've got the automatic shifter that's out of a 1965 Mustang. We are so... You hit 1,000... That's what's up, Harold. That's what's up. Proud of you, man. That's what's up. So now some of you might, and I know if our friend Viable Solutions was in here right now, he would be giving me so much grief, saying, well, you're talking about it. Why isn't it happening? Well, there's still more pieces to the puzzle, okay? And we're going to come over here and we're going to talk about more pieces to the puzzle, okay? So I'm going to kind of disconnect a little bit, and we're going to talk about more pieces to the puzzle. We're going to have to turn on the light, and you'll see what I mean here in a second. There you go. So y'all better hooky. Okay, so we're going to bend down, and then I'm going to kind of flip the camera. All right, here is the automatic transmission. Yeah, there's a transmission in my office. And basically, there's a plate that goes right here, more or less, and blocks the engine from the transmission. So if the transmission decides to blow up, it won't take out the engine. That plate is designed to stop anything from blowing up into, and taking out the backside of your engine, which that can happen. And then if something happens and the engine breaks and something decides to blow through, that plate is there to block off from taking out your transmission. A great design by Ford. But over here is where the starter bolts in, okay? Now, the starter for an automatic and the starter for the manual transmissions are totally different. So this will not. So we need the transmission plate. That is an important must, which Summit Racing carries. Then we'll need to get a new starter right here. And you can see these old lines, okay? These old lines that connect in, these will have to be replaced too. Obviously, with a show car, we do not want these rusty old lines going in. While we're at it, we're going to see if we can't get a new dipstick and dipstick tube that connects into the side of the transmission. What does this do? It measures the fluid inside your transmission. You start it up, let it warm up, come to operating temperature. Then you pull the dipstick, and if it's low, you add transmission fluid. How do you do that? Right through this tube right here. You put a funnel in and just pour the transmission fluid in directly. Real easy. It goes right down inside to the pan and everything. Yeah, there you are, sis. You ornery cuss. And that's how you keep up with your transmission fluid. If the transmission fluid gets a little dark, what you then have to do is you have to drop the pan and drain all the fluid out, which if you drop the pan, that's not going to be a problem. Replace the fluid and filter, put everything back together. Everything is hunky-dory. We may... Well, there it was. That one time. All right, let's continue on. And redo my settings, blah, blah, blah. There we go. So that over there is the torque converter. I'm not 100% sure if we'll need to replace that. So what we will have to do is the boys at the shop will take a look at that. Now, that is a paint cap on top of that. That's to keep from dust and other stuff from getting down inside of it. Because if it is good, we're going to use it, okay? So that is pretty much it. Now, for those who don't know, Ford had this thing where you could... The bolt pattern for their engines were different. So in a lot of cases, so this bell housing can be removed and you change out the bell housing and that swapped it between the engines. And one of the downfalls that Ford had about the way they did things, it made it hard for interchanging stuff because they didn't consider a universal bell housing for their engines. General Motors did that just fine, so there you have that. Now, I have checked these seals. They look really good. The one in the back is just as great. It looks brand new. So this is probably fine to run, but we're going to have the boys at, we're going to have the folks at Torque Diesel and Auto take it apart, take a look at it, and if they're happy with everything, put it back together just the way it is, probably with a shift improvement kit. More on that later. So that takes care of that. And of course, again, it's just being one of those things. Now we're going to have to probably, we're going to need a new cross member. Cross member connects in right back here. It holds the transmission into place because if not, it'll be putting too much torque, gravity being gravity, it's going to push downward. So you have to brace it up. So basically it bolts in up there, that holds it up there. Back here, you have basically what they call a cross member, and that's the support beam that holds the tail shaft into place. And then, of course, the drive shaft connects in here, runs back to the rear end. So it's ridiculously a simple design. And, of course, we're also going to look at, if you could see that. Yeah. See how you are, sis? You can see right in here, this little piece here, we're going to have that replaced as well while we're at it. And all the nasty road grime that you see along the transmission. This is a used transmission, after all. We're going to go ahead and clean that off as well. Not that it's necessary, but it wouldn't hurt to do it anyhow. And of course, we're going to have that taken off and everything checked inside. Basically, if it needs to be rebuilt, nah, I don't care. So basically, if it needs to be replaced, it will be. If it doesn't, we're not going to worry about it unless I just feel that it's necessary to do it anyways. So again, a lot of the focus on this particular project is making sure that there's no problems. Now, if you're wondering where that shift cable connects in, that is exactly where it will connect in. All right, so if you were wondering about that, that is pretty much it there. Again, that cable, I'm not 100% sure how the boys at Torque Diesel and Auto are going to work that out, but they'll figure it out. They're smarter. That's why they're the professionals in this particular case. Okay, and again, you can see where the bell housing bolts in here. Okay, so this is basically how it all goes together. So if you're wondering about that. and of course a dipstick, and then that's where it bolts in at the firewall, basically holding everything into place. If not, it'll just rattle around as the engine's going, just like that too. And it'll actually be smacking the firewall. So you want it bolted in right there. So they'll take care of all that. And of course, again, we may be looking at either A, reconditioning, or B, just getting a chrome one that'll go into Project Spirit. So that is pretty much that. All right, let's go out and take a look at Project Spirit. We're just going to kind of chill out for a few and take some time, kind of walk you around what has changed already. Again, Project Spirit's come a long ways from just the old beater that she was. Now, is she perfect yet? Obviously not. So we're going to kind of I'm going to walk you guys through a lot of that stuff and kind of help you understand why I do things the way that I do, because that's also part of this stream. So if you're wondering about the automatic, basically every little piece that we do to get to that point, it's every little thing adds up to the big project. And that's kind of the theme that you're going to see tonight, okay, is there's everything that we do is just one more piece to the project, okay? So don't, if you've wondered about that, why does it take so long? Well, we're talking, redoing things mechanically. We're talking about rebuilding things. So we, or changing things, there's so many things that go into car like this. So it's not like in the movies or like on television where they say, oh, we're going to do this today, and they've got all the parts there. Most of the time, the money for projects comes direct, the parts. Princess Faye and I buy those parts. Okay, we've had donations, yes, but for the most part, it is us doing this. Okay. And the people that have donated so far to the Prince Magnum channel for Project Spirit has been none other than Gamer Ian, BRFC. Because of the money he sent, we got that new shift cable. And then, of course, Third Gen 83, who has sent a ton of parts. And we're going to take a look at some of those parts. But let's start with, obviously, if you're new to the channel, watching the playback, most everyone in here is pretty well familiar with Spirit. But we're going to kind of walk through it anyways. Come on. There we go. All right. This is Project Spirit. Okay. This is the car that, has been the ambassador for the Prince Magnum channel. Creeping up on 5 years she's been with us. Now, she, again, is a little beat up, a little dinged up. Right now, she's a little dirty right now. I haven't had a chance to clean her out real good and everything. And, of course, I've been picking up odds and ends for things that we need for the channel. She's a daily driver. I practically live out of her some days, you'd swear. So that's Project Spirit. And you can kind of see all the dents and the dings and the, very typical of any car after a few years. But we have begun the body work. So we're going to walk back here. And again, I'm going to walk you through this. If you look at some of the old video footage of Project Spirit, you'll see the rust and the pitting that was happening back here. Well, we took care of that earlier this year. Basically, we sanded, Princess Faye and I took all the paint off of, this taillight panel, took it down to the bare metal, and built it back up with primer, something like three primer, and then hit it with rattle can Rust-Oleum in a satin black. Now, the satin black, what this was for was the whole idea behind the satin black is back in 1970, Ford offered the Maverick in a grabber package, and this was part of the Maverick grabber package, was a blacked out taillight panel, just like you see here. Now, the four-doors never came in a grabber package, but it was suggested to me that it would give her a more aggressive look. So that's why we did it. Or otherwise, we would have went ahead and built her up with primer and would have looked at doing, using the actual paint that we're looking at buying to slather on Project Spirit. We had to actually remove these corner pieces there and then sand everything down, get it down to the bare metal, and then we built her back up again with primer, and any surface rust was obviously taken care of, so that's why it looks as solid as a rock. Okay. Now there is a couple of spots that I'm not 100% happy with. If you look, I mean, you really got to look, but there's actually a small dent in this area. And there was a small run in the paint over here. So I wasn't 100% happy with that, but the Rust-Oleum seems to be holding up pretty damn well. So I'm really happy with that, which is probably why we're going to be staying with Rust-Oleum on the, when it comes time to repaint Project Spirit, because they do offer paints that can be sprayed on, which is exactly why we're looking at doing that. Now, immediately everyone says, well, just sand it down and prime and paint. Well, there's a problem. Okay, and this is why we've only done this piece. That was all surface rust, okay? That was just surface rust. Yes, we could do the trunk lid. Yes, we can do that spot there and stuff like that. But here's where it becomes a problem. That's heavier rust. That's actual rust hole. That's a rust hole right there, okay? So you're going to tell me you're going to shoot paint over rust like that. No, you're not. Because it's just going to keep rusting, and that's a waste of paint. That's a waste of your time, and you didn't do anything to save your project car. So that has to be taken care of, okay? Along with that, look at this. You got a gouge there. You got a big dent here. This has to be popped out. You're going to spray paint over that. And I get really upset when people start saying, well, just repaint it. Just repaint it. No, you got to take care of things like this. See that? Got a rust hole there. Okay, this has to be taken care of. This has to be straightened. We still got to replace this. Look here. Okay, you have to take care of this. Now, our friend 3rd Gen 83 wants us to basically redo the headlight bezel. Basically, the same color as they did with the Maverick Grabbers on the rear taillight panel. He wants us to do it here too. Well, here's the problem. With the rust that's starting right here, okay, and you can kind of see where it transitions in back here. If I start removing these pieces, God only knows how much rust damage is in behind this. So we'll take this piece off, paint this piece to look really nice, and put it back up here to find out that the rust has caused so much damage that we can't put it back. That doesn't make any damn sense to me. So the process that we're going to be taking, and I'm insisting on this, is this piece will not come off until this fender is removed. This is taken care of, all of this, and any rust in behind here, all is taken care of. Everything reconditioned, primed, and basically everything brought back to the way it's supposed to, primed and redone, and then build it back up, and then everything going back into place, looking brand new all over again. The only thing I should ever have to worry about is changing these headlights. Period. That's how I run, okay? And it's going to be the same thing on the other side. And again, you're going to see exactly what I'm talking about. Not a whole lot here, but it's beginning. And so it may actually be a lot of the same thing in behind here, just like on the other side. If you do one side, you got to do the other, okay? But right here, you can also see, this is why I'm so insistent on doing everything in a certain order, okay? Now, again, we're talking actual rust holes, okay? And it's starting to form here. And because I haven't been in behind here in a long time, because last time I was in behind here, we changed the headlight. But basically, we're dealing with the fact that there's probably a ton of rust behind there, a lot of rust damage. So it's important that we take care of that first. So you don't want to remove those pieces because you may not get them back on because of the severe rust damage. Take care of that first, and then you can put everything back into place. Don't get ahead of yourself, folks. All right, and again, it hasn't quite gotten that bad down here, but it's starting. And you got a dent there, so you can see what we're focusing on. We want to take care of the bodywork, so there's an order of operations, okay? Get all your stuff together. Begin the project. Fill in your holes as you're working along. Working along the car. And you will pick one spot to start on, which is exactly why, what's going on, honey? So basically what we will do is we will start right up here on the fender. Work here transition to here, the hood, the cowl, and these little corner pieces here. This will all be done with the fenders, okay? And then we'll work our way back across the top of the hood. We're probably going to take the windshield out, because in behind these chrome strips will be rust. As a believe it or not, I've actually been noticing where she leaks a little bit right up in here, drips down inside the car, so we have to take care of that. So the windshield will have to come out, and then she'll have to go in. A brand new gasket will be put into place, but that can't go into place until we take care of the rust behind there, because a lot of the companies won't touch them if it's rusted out real bad. So this will have to come out, and that'll have to be redone. The doors will come off. Each door will come off. Chrome strip will be taken off, reconditioned. And I'm going to come back here and show you. And underneath the chrome strips, it's going to be 1,000 times worse. Right? It's actually starting to cool down. Then work our way back, and it'll be on both sides. So basically, when I do one door, I go to the other side and basically continue. So you'll actually see a transition as we go. All right. And if you play your cards right, then by the time you get back here, you have pretty much a brand new car. And if we do it in stages where we have the same paint from the same company, and then start in this area, 7 coats here, and then just basically as we strip it, redo it, and repaint it. So there's paint everywhere, even up underneath in here, inside all the various areas, basically making sure that everything is restored, rebuilt, redone, all the way back. And then once we get here, it's pretty much like a brand new car. And we may go ahead and strip this back down again one more time and remove a few pieces, because we didn't really get in close enough on the door, on the trunk lock. We'll actually remove all that. Okay, honey. Awesome. I'm glad that you two made friends. And, that is, well, welcome, Sandra, to the live stream. So basically, that's how the order of operations has to go. That's why we take our time, because we don't have everything to do this project, okay? Part of the project is we've got to be able to weld this stuff in, okay? This has to be re-welded. Folks, that's American steel. It has to be welded, ground down, body putty laid over. And again, we'll start up here and then work our way back. Each piece being removed. And any rust, bye, honey. Each piece redone, restored. And we'll probably even see about removing the chrome underneath here and cleaning around in there. I mean, this is a commonplace thing too. Thank God we don't have the vinyl top to fight with, okay? The vinyl tops are really bad. What's up, Kevin Myers? Walking through the process of how we're redoing Project Spirit. So if you guys have had any questions, why is it taking so long? This is why it takes so long, because it's not just, stripping the body and shooting it with paint. There's a lot more involved in that. So each piece to the puzzle, we're at, we've also been working here and there on the interior. Take a look. This is the brand new dash cap, which some of you have already seen, that our friend 3rd Gen 83 sent us. Looks absolutely amazing. So initially, what I thought I was going to be doing with the interior is not where we're going now. Because when I redid this, it was like, then I got this steering wheel that's in a nice black, okay? Oh, thank you. And then when he sent this piece, I said, blue and black would be awesome in this car. Blue and black would be awesome. Now I don't know what we're going to do about this. I mean, the Batman logo is pretty cool and all, but for the theme that we're doing with Project Spirit, it just doesn't make any sense. Now, again, when I said she's a manual powered car, she has her own stick shift. There's the clutch pedal. And notice how much smaller it is than that, the automatic brake pedal that I showed you guys earlier. So we have to, initially, what it basically boils down to is when you disconnect the manual transmission, this pedal just hangs there, doesn't do anything then. And I could actually tie it back. Well, 3rd Gen 83 made the suggestion of sending me the one for an automatic, which is a little bit bigger, and this whole assembly can come out and I can have a larger brake pedal. Then over here, we've got our Hurst shifter. This will be going away, and we're probably going to lose our center, that little mess maker there. Okay, that's probably going to go away as well because we won't be able to have it there with the automatic on the floor. Just, one of those things we're going to have to give up, but it's kind of an eyesore anyways anymore. So that's where we stand on that. And then, of course, we have the new LED bulb inside the dome light. And the new dome light cover, brand new. Here's what's left of the old one. That's the old one. Not exactly show worthy, folks. Not exactly show worthy. So, and then of course we got to try to find some paint to kind of touch up some scuff and dings and the usual things that you expect in these old cars. Might even see about taking this piece off here and redoing like right around here, maybe see if I can make it a little bit more reflective, or just clean it up and maybe touch up the paint. That's pretty much it as far as that goes right now. We do need to eventually look at redoing the bench seat if we keep it, which I don't see why we wouldn't. All right, so that is where all of that stands. So if you've been wondering, and again, almost 46 years old, and these still work just fine. Okay? Oh, hey, no problem. No problem. So that's why we're going to start up here. Now we're going to also show some other things that have gone wrong with your old Project Spirit. Okay. Now, back when we first got her, she had this nasty habit that her battery would slide over and smack into the alternator right here and bust it and fling battery acid all through here. We had that happen twice. So because of that, we had nonstop problems. So where you can see what it did there and did look what it did to the underneath of the hood, just totally destroyed it. And of course, most people don't know this. There was actually an engine fire in Project Spirit years before we got her. And that's where some of these issues come in, where you can actually see wires that are frayed and burned. So we have to redo part of this, and part of that popping noise that you hear is this, okay? So this will have to be re-welded and fixed and redone, basically making sure, we're gonna have to take it down to the bare metal, okay? And then it's gonna have to be built back up with primer, and I know it's traditional that you do the underneaths in a satin or flat or semi-gloss black. We will not be doing that. It'll probably be something that's somewhat reflective to kind of, basically to, a kind of a light color that will allow Project Spirit's engine to not overheat, because you'll find out that my whole thing is basically allowing the heat to get away from an engine. That's my big thing, making sure that the heat can get away from an engine, to keep them cooler, because no matter how good the cooling system is, if the heat can't dissipate, it's still staying up against that engine, and you're defeating the purposes of a really great coolant system. So we do not want that, Sam, I am. So that is where you're going to see where bright, shiny colors will come into play. It'll allow the engine to not overheat. So that's going to be an important thing that we will be doing. On top of that, sometime this next year, the original inline 6 will be going away. I know some of you are not 100% happy with that, but here's some things that we got to look at, okay? Back over here, you can actually see where she's been leaking a little bit of oil. And it's right up against that head gasket. Now, the head gasket itself isn't blown. She doesn't have a blown head because, I've looked, and that's just a normal thing for these old Fords. Quality control for Fords back in the 1970s is quality control that you would see on the Mustangs today. It isn't good. And I've heard a lot of people complaining about the quality control of Mustangs today. So because of the fact that we're starting to see her leak a little bit more oil, that tells me that it's getting close to time. We're going to have to look at replacing this engine and or rebuilding this engine. Now we're at that stage. Rebuild, renew, reuse or whatever, do we keep it or do we get rid of it? Well, the problem is that unfortunately, with these old 6-cylinders, the parts are still available. You can get these parts all day long, but you can't get a complete rebuild kit for them. A crate engine? Okay. Let's talk about crate engines for a second. In most cases, a crate engine is fine. But for your daily driver, I am not a huge fan of crate engines unless they came directly from the manufacturer. But even then, there's problems. With a crate engine, you don't know what you're getting. Even though it says a spec sheet and everything like that, you don't know what you're getting. So what I'm going to say is, and a lot of people will get upset because some people spend money, big money for crate engines, and not saying that they're bad. I'm just saying that they could be better. When you're doing a replacement engine, again, just fine. Okay. You don't have to do anything other than just drop it in and go. But yeah, y'all wondered how I did that. I have to hold the hood with my head and then undo the hood latch. Well, undo the hood prop and then gently set it down. And that hood is that's a steel hood and it kind of hurts. So let me explain. When I go to rebuild an engine, one of the things that I'm really big about is making sure that you get the most bang for buck. Okay, a person can have a rebuilt engine stock out of one of those cars. You could do it for anywhere from $2,000 to $3,000, depending on what you do. And that's just the basics. Okay. It'll run fine for many years to come if it's well taken care of. But here's the problem. You could get a longer lifespan out of them if you did a few extra things, okay? And those few extra things can be as simple as what is known as balancing. Now, balancing doesn't sound like a super important thing. Well, it sounds like it could be beneficial. And basically, each part is weighed out and material might be removed and that sort of thing to where it's perfectly balanced on the inside. This makes sense because you can get a higher RPM out of them, getting more performance out of the same stock engine. Well, why don't they do this at the factory? Why isn't this an important thing that the manufacturers do? And this is even an issue with some crate engines. Why don't they do this? Because you can't mass produce it. It takes too much time. It takes precision machinists to do this, okay? Precision machinists. And there's actually a shop over in Bellevue, hang on, I always get them confused. Bellevue, Missouri. There's Bellevue, Missouri. There's a machine shop that I trust, and old Bob Boring. And he'll remove and weigh each part until it's perfect. Absolutely perfect, where there's no vibrations in the engine when it turns over. We do not want that. It allows us to get a higher RPM. Again, factory crate engines, you won't get this from. Now, you could go to another company, but now you're paying even more money, okay? And yeah, there's a warranty on it, but when that warranty runs out, you're still SOL, okay? Build it right the first time, okay? The other thing that I would that doesn't come into play that a lot of these and I've looked, a lot of these crate engine companies don't talk about is blueprinting. Now, if you're not familiar with what blueprinting is when it comes to engines, it's actually ridiculously simple. It's just the explanation doesn't sound like it's simple. When an engineer, one of the people from the car companies decides to um, to rebuild, well, to build an engine. Okay, when he decides to sit down and build an engine from start to finish, that engineer or team of engineers, um, okay, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. This team of engineers, they build that engine perfect. So imagine this for a second. When whatever car you got, okay, whatever car you got, when the engineer sat down to create the engine that's in your vehicle, it was built perfect. Just imagine that for a second. Built perfect. But then when it went into production, the same engineers that built that perfect engine had to figure out level of tolerances, because in mass production, you lose that perfection. The only way to get it back is to have your engine blueprinted. That's where you take it apart, you send it to a machine shop, and each part is painstakingly done to the exact perfection that the engineer intended. So imagine, internally, if you rebuild your own engine from take an old engine and rebuild it just as the engineer intended, balanced and blueprinted, as we call it today, okay? We've called it this for years, but do that. The outside won't matter, because you will have a perfect engine. Just take that in for a second. A perfect running engine. The numbers on the dyno won't matter diddly dick, because what will matter is the fact that it's perfectly balanced. It's as the engineer intended. And this is excluding boring out the cylinders and shaving the heads with new, doing all these different things like it, just as the engineer intended, as that engineering team intended, you will have a perfect engine. Now, Ford, doing these to your Ford small block Windsors, doing this to, which I know that's a redundant thing to say, or doing this to any General Motors engine or any Ford FE or Cobra Jet, or for that matter, any Mopar V8. Imagine doing this and then pretty well putting it back to as the engineer intended. It does not matter the horsepower, because anything that you put in behind that engine, if it locks up, basically you put a good solid transmission, manual, automatic, doesn't matter. And then you have a good solid drive shaft with the right type of, with good solid U-joints connecting in, and you put everything painstaking in the third member of the rear end, and then going out to, along the drive shafts, all the way to the tires themselves, and everything locks up. Horsepower will not matter. And trying to explain this to young hot rodders is spitting in the wind. Because if you can get that good, smooth performance from that stock engine back to that rear end, down to the pavement perfectly, you will have a car that's unrivaled by anything else. The numbers will mean shit. Okay? It won't mean shit to anybody. So just take that in. Just sit back and just kind of take that in. Okay? You have a perfectly balanced and blueprinted engine. And we'll say, even for kicks, that it's only rated at 150 horses and 225 foot-pounds of torque. And the power transfers to the rear end perfectly. Gets down to the pavement perfectly. Even to the point where when you romp on that gas, all centrifugal force will take over and make the car squat. And that loses seconds off of your quarter mile time. What if we did something and made it where that transition wasn't so dramatic and it was very faint, and then those tires locked up, where both of them locked into place, and you shot down? You probably won't spin that much. It won't be much of a burnout. It won't be that exciting, but the launch will be instantaneous. So this is something that I've been trying to basically get Project Spirit to. Not so much that, a burnout isn't cool to do every once in a while, but where the performance locks up like that. So the numbers won't matter. Where I could take an engine that, puts out a bare minimum, maybe 200 horses in a V8. Doesn't sound like much, but it's low performance, but it's so solid where everything around it keeps that engine running smooth, and the engine itself runs so smooth. Can you imagine the gas mileage out of something like this? Can you imagine what the quarter mile time would be? Eighth mile? Can you imagine? So can you understand why I'm so painstaking about each intricate detail, getting to that point where, taking a look at the automatic, every piece has to matter. And it's almost like I'm trying to build complete perfection into Project Spirit. Why? So I don't have to go back and do it later, folks. If you get anything out of these live streams, every little bit matters. Right down to the nuts and the bolts that go into the project. Every piece has to matter because I don't like taking and redoing it. Now Jeremy, you mentioned the 572 cubic inch big block Chevrolet, which puts out a tremendous amount of power. That's a cool engine, but it was never offered. It's offered for racers. Myself personally, there's an engine from Chevrolet that screams just power and performance and reliability. I mean, this thing is just awesome. Chevrolet built some of the best engines probably to ever grace the hot rod community. The 572 is an amazing engine. I remember when they unveiled I think it was like a 502. I remember when that was new. And of course, now today you can buy, directly from General Motors. You can buy a 383 stroker. Sounds awesome. But I'm going to challenge you all with some thinking. Now, granted, this is from the people that built the engines initially, but Chevrolet is not Chevrolet anymore. It's not what it definitely is not what it used to be. The 350s have, or they're not what they used to be. Gearhead, that's my sister for you. Sis, that's that. Dad has never been that dang painstaking about it. But I will tell you right now, I am. Okay. I don't believe, I believe in that you may not necessarily achieve true perfection when building a car, but you can come as close as you possibly can if you don't cut corners. And that was something Dad taught me, but he was never this much of a perfectionist. Of course, if he heard this now, he'd probably be like, Jesus Christ, son, calm down. Doesn't have to be that bad. Okay. But Chevrolet is definitely not the car company it used to be. And let me tell you, Chevrolet's had their flops over the years. The 307, to name one of them, the 307 that was back in the heyday, in the glory days of the muscle car era. The Chevrolet 307, that if you got it up to about 5,000 RPM on the tachometer, it would throw the connecting rods right through the oil pan. That's a great example of it. Well, and let's not forget their wimpy ass 305. The 305 was a joke. You got it up to about 150,000 miles, which that's actually low miles for a Chevrolet small block from back in the day. And it would throw it would just break. As a matter of fact, in that 78 Camaro, I remember going out, boom! And I think it barely had 100,000 on it. 120, I think, actually. 120,000. That's not that many miles, even for those old cars. Yeah. There you go. But here are if you want the greatest engines that Chevrolet ever built, I'm going to list them right now for all of you, and I can even go into detail why they were so good. Let's start off in 1957, the Chevrolet 283, the smoothest running engine I have ever seen. It always sounded like it had a miss to it. No matter what I did to the 283 that I had, it always sounded like it had a miss to it. Put it on the timing light, damn thing ran fine. But it always sounded like I had a miss. Didn't have a cam in it or anything like that. It was just a stock cam for an RV out of a Chevrolet 350. It was supposed to go into a 350, never used. My dad did some wheeling and dealing to get his hands on that. Provided a tremendous amount of bottom end torque. It was a good engine, but it always sounded like it had a miss to it. Could never figure out. There was just something that was loud square bodies. Yep. Just an amazing engine all the way around. The next engine that Chevrolet had that definitely worth mentioning, the 327. That is an unsung hero in the Chevrolet small block world. You did not, it was the quintessential engine, small block Chevy for the Corvette for many years. I know the 350 carried the Corvette for several years, but the 327 was the car that really made the muscle car era, for the Chevrolet small blocks. It wound up in Nova Super Sports, Chevelle Super Sports, Impala Super Sports. It even showed up in the Camaro in very limited numbers for I think about a year or two, because 1968 was the last year for the 327. In '69, the it pretty well I think it was only offered in Corvette, if I remember correctly. So that's an unsung hero, okay? And the most iconic. There we go. Oh, really? That is neat. That is awesome. Um, and there again, you're talking about, some way, shape, or form, the Chevy 350 made its way in there. We'll talk about that in a second. Um, so the 327, the most iconic 327 engine, I don't care what the numbers say, but the most iconic of them is the L79 327. What was so special about this engine? It was rated from the factory with 350 foot-pounds of 350 horses, 350 foot-pounds of torque. Oh, really? That is neat. Chairman, you're going to have to tell me that story now. You're going to have to tell me that. Now we're going to have to give each other a call, and you're going to have to tell me that story in an excruciatingly painful detail because I want to know. Inquiring minds want to know. Um, so now that I've said that, okay, and again, we're talking, the 327 now. And then from there, the most iconic of the 327s is the L79. The L79 was 150 horsepower, 100, I'm sorry, 350 horses, 350 foot-pounds of torque. That doesn't sound very inspiring, considering there was more powerful engines than that and different configurations and blah, 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 blah. What was so special about it? It was the first engine to have a performance hydraulic cam. Before that time, hydraulic cams were really only used for daily, for the cars that you basically knew that you were going to be driving every day. And they didn't have a whole lot of power, but they were very reliable. And they didn't have the problems that the solid lifter cam engines did. The solid lifter cams were cool to have that lope, 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 lope that came out your exhaust. But the problem with solid lifter cams is after 8,000, I'm sorry, yeah, 8,000 miles, you had to adjust the lifters. And after 100,000 miles, you had to do an overhaul and change that cam because the lobes would flatten. So after 100,000 miles, you did an overhaul. And that was basically where you took the engine apart, you removed all the, you replaced all the bearings and you replaced the tappets and the lifters and all that other bullshit, and you had to replace the cam and along with the rings on the pistons. A very expensive job, even by today's standards. So why in the world would you want when you can have performance and the reliability of a daily driver, that's where the L79 was truly awesome. And today, all performance hydraulic cams are based on Chevrolet's L79 327 high performance hydraulic cam. So there is a bit of history for you. Bam! Alrighty, moving on. The next small block on the list worth mentioning is the Chevrolet 302. Yes, Chevrolet had their own 302 for 3 years, and it came in only one car, and that was none other than the 1967 to 1969 Chevrolet Camaro Z28. And how did you get said 302? You took a 327 engine block, and you tuned in some slightly modified parts for the Chevrolet 283. And that was literally how you got that engine, with a solid lifter cam and all the nice little features that you could have in a racing engine that was offered from the factory. Chevrolet rated it at 290 horses is what it was rated at. But please note how I said that. That basically means when that engine left the factory, that engine got that somewhere on the dyno. There have been some tests that have showed that that particular Chevrolet 283, well, the 302, the Chevrolet 302 got somewhere around about 450 horses out of a small block Chevy from the factory. That's ridiculous. This thing would pass anything but a gas station. The next on my list of really, really awesome Chevrolet small blocks, none other than the most versatile Chevrolet small block that ever left the factory, and that is none other than the Chevrolet 350. Now, I'm going to tell y'all right now, that Chevrolet 350 lasted all the way up until the 90s, and is still considered the quintessential Chevrolet engine, okay? You don't get any better than this. It is the most universal of all of the Chevrolet engines, okay? Now, what it basically it came out as a performance engine in the Camaro Super Sport, and it didn't do half bad. It wound up in Super Sports and ended up in the Corvette. Carried the Corvette for many years. So no question about it. The Chevrolet 350. If you want, if you want something that is decent, economically, Chevrolet 350 can get a decent amount of gas mileage. As a matter of fact, and I know this doesn't sound like a whole lot. I had a 77 Oldsmobile Delta 88 that, believe it or not, got right around 22 miles to the gallon on the highway. That's not bad for a V8, considering the best you can get out of a V8 nowadays is 18. Not bad for 1977. Or if you want, you can. I'm glad you're here, Queen. It wouldn't be a stream without you, But along with that, for the Chevrolet 350, you can build them. I believe the highest number I've heard is almost 700 horses out of a Chevrolet 350. So you can go the other way too. You could build it anywhere in between. Works in trucks, works in cars, works in vans, whatever you want. I mean, the Chevrolet 350 is the most versatile of the engines. But make sure that you get the one with the 4-bolt main, and make sure that you get one with a forged crank, because this is around the time that we started seeing cast cranks, and cast cranks are a joke. So those of you who swear up and down that the LS engines are the best, no, they're not. Cast cranks. There, I said it. I know, Queen, I know. I'm sorry. I know. I'm sorry. Come on. In the big block category, I know the 5. Okay, yeah, those are good looking. I always like the vans from the A-Team. Those were my favorites, I think she's actually, I'll have to look, but I think she's on the couch sleeping. Okay, so moving on. Let's go to the big block category. For big blocks from Chevrolet, let's start off with the the 396, the Mark IV big blocks, the 396. The 396 ended up in a lot of different cars. As a matter of fact, in 1965, right? Yeah, they can be. They can be. Now, in um, in 1965, the 396 was unveiled, the first of the Mark IV big blocks. Now, the 396 carried the Chevelles, it carried the Impalas, it carried Corvette for 1 year. It carried the Corvette for 1 year for the high end performance engine. And I think, if I remember correctly, that particular 396 was putting out 425 horses somewhere on the dyno, if you catch my drift. Another one of those sandbag jobs from General Motors. General Motors was notorious for that. Then there was also the, let's see, and in some cases it ended up in Nova Super Sports. The 396 was not a slouch. It's one of three of the most forgotten Chevrolet engines from the big block category. It's one of those ones. It's probably the most forgotten. And this thing was no joke. The 396 is probably one of the greatest, most durable. I mean, it was just a damn good engine. You didn't get any better than the 396 in the big block category. Now, why such a small engine? Being so great, that's a funny thing. The bigger the engines got, the more unreliable they got. And so for a daily driver, the 572 really wouldn't work. But for a race car, if you blow it up, I mean, you probably got the money laying around. You're going to rebuild it anyway. So for performance, I agree with you, Chairman. But when it comes to that Mark IV big block, I'm going to stay with something like a 396 or the 427. The 427. My God, that carried Corvette. From 1966 to 1969, the 427 ended up in Corvette, Impala, in some way, shape, or form. It was there. And believe me, that was a ground stomper. It was such a great engine that the 454 was based on it. That should be an indicator. And let's not forget, the 427 ended up in Yenkos of all sizes and shapes, and including the Dickie Harrell Novas. Most people forget about those. But all the Yenkos, except for the Yenko Corvair, for obvious reasons, 427 ended up in every one of them. So there you have that. And of course, you got to mention the 454, but everyone goes to the 454. I mean, myself personally, if I wanted a Chevrolet big block that was just like an icon, the 427. That's a true icon from the muscle car era. And the Yenko Camaros got them. Got the 427. I think even the Yenko Chevelles and the Yenko Novas got them. And of course, the Dickie Harrell. Oh yeah, you hear one run. Oh man, oh man. Which, if TFZ Gaming is still in the background, I know Queen Bee will get really upset with me mentioning this. Did you know a 427 will fit under the hood of your IROC? Be a little tight going up top, but a hood scoop will fix that. Now Queen Bee is going to reach through the camera and choke the piss out of me because a big block, he now knows a big block Chevy will fit under the hood of his Camaro. They're not much heavier than a small block. And they're not much bigger. Not by much. Oh, really? Wow, Copo. For those that don't know, the Copos were that was an interesting. That was basically a corporate order. I forget how the that all worked out, but the copos were interesting. Basically, if a person knew their RPO codes, which was the internal production numbers through General Motors, you can get just about anything you want. Okay, let me explain it like this, Queen. You're going to get really upset. Your hubby, if he wanted to, he could pull that small V8 out of his car and put a much larger V8 in its place. It will fit. And the V8 that I mentioned, a 427, in the L88 configuration, it was rated at 430 horses on a dyno. But if you looked close enough on a dyno stand, that engine could put out, actually from the factory, an L88 427 was putting out over 700 horses. So imagine 700 horses connected into that little bitty IROC Z Camaro. Now you're mad. That's way too many ponies. Way too many ponies. That's way too many buff ponies. Oh, did you decide to make an appearance? Yeah. 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 Okay. You went down. I know you want to go exploring. Wish I got a picture earlier. She was sleeping on my lap. Queen's gonna reach through the camera and like my kitten. Queen Bee loves a little, yeah. And now she's also gonna wring my neck because she knows that now TFZ Gaming is thinking, I wonder if I can get my hand. I've heard that. I've heard that. There's a guy that I would love to corner on here who's on YouTube, Arn Ra, and he's an atheist, but he also went out and you're a noob at car talk. I wouldn't say you're a noob, but you've been learning. Nothing wrong with. I hate that. Don't just because you don't know it doesn't mean you're a noob. Just means if you're here, you're willing to learn. You know. So, in a nutshell, we've talked about a lot of the performance. When we go to do the V8, I am looking at a 289. But if I get my hands on a 302, I'll definitely go that route. It just kind of depends on what I get my hand on. Your honey has a V8 under the hood of his car. He has a small block Chevrolet V8 under the hood of his car right now. So if you go out and you take a look at it, you're going to see a V8 there. Okay? I can't remember if he said it's a 350 or a 305. I don't know what he's got under the hood, but that's a Chevrolet small block V8 under the hood of his car. So you know what one looks like now. Yeah, it's the same exact thing. Now the bigger ones, that's a small block V8. Now in Chevrolet terms, there's a second category called the big blocks, and these provide more room for larger pistons and a longer, what is known as a longer stroke. And by going with the bigger engines, you can provide more power. Now, more power is good for like pickup trucks. The more power you have, the more you can pull down you could do the work that a truck does, or you could do the work of a. All right, Chairman, you rest well, okay, buddy? Thank you for being here. But by providing more power, this works out tremendously on the drag strip. And then there's different areas of power. Okay, um, there's if you look at a dyno, it transitions up, and basically at the peak is what they're measuring at its peak performance in different. Oh, sleeping pills kicked in. Okay, well you rest well. Okay, buddy. But basically, in a nutshell, um, with performance numbers, um, the more torque an engine has, the more of the engine uh, the more pulling power at lower speeds you got. Well, at lower RPM, it basically on a drag strip, if you will. The best way I can describe it: the more torque you have, the better your launch is, and the more horsepower you have, the faster it carries you through the quarter mile. Okay, um, so because drag racing is still one of the most popular motorsports here in the United States, um, I've always been one that you want to get the power to the pavement as quickly as possible, and you want that awesome launch. This is one of the reasons why I like engines with a tremendous amount of torque. It's also great for pulling, uh, because once you get it going, it's not that important. And there's actually a stupid saying that doesn't make any sense. Um, the more torque, the more horsepower you have is how fast. Basically, more horsepower means how fast you hit the wall. Torque is how much you take with it, with that hitting that wall, and that's not accurate. What I like to say is more horsepower makes you hit the wall faster, but more torque is how big of a wall you can pull down, if you will. So if you want that tremendous hole shot where you get off the line so fast that doesn't matter how much horsepower that other car has, they're not going to be able to catch up. So you want that tremendous hole shot. You want to beat them off that line. So I always like my engines to have a tremendous amount of torque, and I want everything behind that engine to get to the pavement as quickly as possible. That's just the way the strategy works for me. Now, some guys will insist that all that won't matter. They want all that horsepower for catching up to those people that get that tremendous hole shot. So you'll kind of see different strategies, but by and large in drag racing, and I'm talking about motorsports, I like that tremendous hole shot, and I want to get at least 2 to 3 car lengths on my opponent before their engine starts building horsepower. So that's where a lot of us that's where a lot of young people kind of mess up on, because the best way to do it is to get a balance if you're going to be racing. But this will also equate to, in daily driving, having an engine with having a setup like I'm talking about. Um, this will allow me at we'll say if I have to make a jackrabbit takeoff. Okay, that jackrabbit takeoff, say I'm sitting at a stoplight, and I'm kind of in a hurry, or maybe I need to avoid something. That torque, with the setup that I've been describing, getting that power to the pavement and everything, will get me out of the way in a hurry. From a stop. So maybe I got to punch that pedal down. Um, if I'm in a tight spot, and I need to kind of kick the back end somewhere. And believe it or not, I've had to do this with Spirit already, where I was kind of in a tight spot and I had to kind of dump that clutch a little bit and put down that pedal. It allowed me to kind of move the rear end one way or the other and kind of point that nose where I needed it. So it allowed me to kind of use, some stupid, that stupid play idea. So you kind of see what I'm saying, that having that torque, having a lot of torque there is like super beneficial even in a daily sense. And being able to get that torque to the rear end, and down to the pavement, having that capability goes beyond just, doing stupid stuff, doing stupid stuff. So you kind of get what I'm saying. So, but the only problem with having that kind of torque in a vehicle is it kind of twists the frame. It's hard on the motor mount, so you have to beef that up. And I hope I didn't hurt your head. I'm so sorry if I did. I'm so sorry if I lost you at any point. I apologize. Frowny face. So you kind of get what I'm saying now, I think. Nothing wrong with having this knowledge. Now, in the old days, big engines can do this easily, but nowadays we can build small engines to do what the big engines did, saving us weight, and it's more economical in the long run. Okay, thank you for not, yeah. So you can do this nowadays and build them right, and get all that. Technology, even in the old cars, has not stopped. Even carburetor technology has come a long, long, long way since the 60s. And it has even continued even since the 70s. Despite popular belief, it's not been just focused on performance, okay? So you'll kind of get the idea where I'm all about getting the most bang for your buck. If you will, there's kind of two different levels of power. There's what the factory gave you with your engine, and then there's taking that same engine and freeing basically doing things that get more than what the factory intended on that stock platform. And we'll talk more about that in other live streams and videos that's coming up. So see the things you gotta know. Your hubby already has a pretty good idea on a lot of this stuff, and he's probably going right along. Yeah, he's dead on. What he's saying right there. Take it in, baby. That's the same things I'll be doing. And he'll tell you this is the easy stuff. What he's talking about. So if you're building a performance car, these are the things you know. If you're building a strong truck for towing, these are things you need to know. If you're building a daily driver that you want a little bit of play, you want to be able to play with it a little bit, these are other things you have to know. As a matter of fact, give you an idea with the performance capabilities of Project Spirit. See, those old 6-cylinders did not provide a whole lot of horsepower, but they always provided a tremendous amount of torque. Those 6-cylinders were notorious. Ford built good, strong, torquey 6-cylinders. And I've pulled other vehicles like a truck would with Project Spirit, because that engine that's in there now can do it very easily. It's good for it. I mean, I could hook a chain to the, what's going on, Mike G? I can hook a chain to Project Spirit and tow another truck with it. Okay, the setup that's actually in Project Spirit would actually be perfect for a pickup truck. Not a joke. It would be perfect for a truck. And here I'm playing, doing the stuff that I do. That's why she'll take you sideways around corners and all that other stuff. One of the reasons why I really don't want to give up that old engine, but I know I'm going to have to, because it's just getting harder to get the parts for it. You can get every last part to replace, to rebuild that engine, but the problem is that when you get every last one of those parts and blah, 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 you'll end up, you can't buy it in a kit like you used to. The way that it's set up now, you have to buy it a la carte, and that gets expensive. If you were able to buy it in a complete kit like you used to, it would be ridiculously cheap. And I could actually build that engine cheaper than a V8. But now it's considered a specialty engine, considered one of those engines perfect for a restoration. But there's the problem. It's perfect for a restoration. We have passed restoration a long time ago. We're on the other side of restoration. We're building a resto rod. It'll look like it always meant to be that way, but it's not. We crossed resto. We crossed restoration. We said, fuck restoration a long time ago. So we're now in the realm of, in the custom world. Okay. So trying to do it on a budget, it just doesn't make any sense. Just go to a V8 because the parts are more widely available. You can build it on a budget. And like I said, internally, you can build these engines anywhere from 2 to 3. And if you want to get stupid with, you can build it all the way up to $4,000 internally. and that's still going to be cheaper than my inline six in a lot of ways. But that doesn't mean that we're throwing that engine out. Actually, I'm going to be setting it aside and saving it. I think Princess Faye wants to do a truck project, but she has already said she wants Spirit's old inline. She likes that engine. Believe it or not, she really loves that engine. And I can't blame her. I love that engine myself. Mm-hmm. And uh, and I've even considered, if I thought it would fit under there, there's actually a setup you can get on those old engines and put three one-barrel carburetors on. That would be so freaking cool, wouldn't it, guys? Having three, three Offenhauser, Uh-huh. There has been talk about that for years. They've leaked. Okay, Ford has leaked for years now. For the last, I know, 4 years, they have leaked information about bringing back the Mavericks, and it's time. Ford Ford has finally listened to dear old Prince Magnum. Hey, what's going on, Roblox? Welcome to the live stream. Nothing but positive vibes your way as well. Big, big, big hug. Big hug. Big streamer hug to you. All right. Big streamer hug. Big shout out. Thank you so much for being here and poking into the live stream. All right, real quick. Again, so basically, as we've been talking, let me let me again say that we did the unboxing of the Shift cable. I'm really excited about it. I'm imagine our friends at Torque Diesel and Auto will do an amazing job when it comes time. So tomorrow, paycheck in hand, I'm going to put some money on my PayPal card, and we will be sending off for the engine block plate, well, the engine separator plate, which we will definitely need. Then from there, we'll probably be placing an order for for the next piece of the puzzle. I forget what I've said it was going to be. It'll come back to me in a second. You'll have to excuse me. I'm old. What do you expect? So we already we're probably going to start looking at getting the software. I'm probably going to see about pricing, seeing about getting talking to our friends at Big Three Auto Salvage and see about getting a cross member if I have enough money. If not, the next piece to the puzzle will probably be something small that we're going to definitely need at some point. Probably like the starter, or maybe the flex plate, which is a little bit different than the flywheel. So that is definitely on the list of things that we're going to need. So we do need we're going to need a flex plate. I apologize. There's a difference. We'll need a flex plate, and we'll need a starter. I won't have to change anything other than just the starter. Everything will bolt up into place. So that is where we stand on that. And everything that's already there will just hook right in. Or we'll call our friends from Eckler's and get that piece for the Mustang, that plastic piece, and begin restoring that. That's probably what we'll end up getting next, is that little plastic piece, and we'll take a look at the shifter here in a second. Because again, Project Spirit, we are basically building all the pieces. I want it to always look like it belonged. Okay, that's the main crux of this. I want it to always look like the pieces always belong there, even though they're not actually in there. It wasn't built that way, but you guys see what I'm saying. And once this transmission's into place, the next piece of the puzzle, we're going to shift our attention, no pun intended, to the suspension again. We need to look at rebuilding the power steering setup. We're going to begin building our suspension and our rear end to accommodate for the much more beefier V8 that we're going to be looking at doing sometime this next year. Now, again, when we're talking about projects like this, you do each piece a little bit at a time, Now, while this is also going on, we're going to begin doing the body work probably as I got to contact our friend T-Bone. His truck went down, and so getting around for him is going to be a little difficult. But if he goes down to his parents, all we got to do is take Project Spirit down there. I just need about a couple of days time to begin actually making a difference. And of course, Princess Faye will be doing the paint work while T-Bone and I do a lot of the body work. So that's kind of where we stand on all of that. Enough smoking, because Queen Bee doesn't like it when I smoke, for good reason. She's a sweetheart and wants the best for me. I'm going to make sure that little Zelda is back inside. She decided to come out here. I think she went back inside. Okay, if not, she'll meow at me and tell me to open up the fucking door. Oh, there she is. Hi, Zelda. Come with me. Don't argue. Kitty. Say hi. Say hi to everyone, Zelda. You gonna tell everyone that you love them? I know everyone loves you. I'm telling you. Oh. Okay. You want to go play? You gonna go play? The newest addition to our little family. All right, so we covered a lot of ground talking about Project Spirit, and again, we're talking, again, when I was talking the shifter, again, I'm probably gonna contact our friends from Eckler's and get this piece right here. Again, this particular piece, I mean, it's fine. It's not really affecting its capability. But again, we show Project Spirit on a regular. Yeah, almost did actually. We show Project Spirit on the regular. So it makes sense to take the time, take this thing apart and recondition it, make sure there's nothing broken on the inside, because we're talking a 55-year-old floor shifter out of a 65 Mustang. As a matter of fact, there's the Cruise-O-Matic. Actually says Cruise-O-Matic on it, letting you know what type of transmission it goes to. We'll take it apart, clean it up, make sure get rid of all the rust, because we do not want this rusting away to nothing. Okay. And again, it does lock. It does exactly what it's supposed to, and of course, it'll do a much better job once inside the car. So that is pretty much the gist of it. Again, we did the unboxing where we showed off the brand new shift cable. This particular cable, again, is from our friends at Summit Racing. I want to thank Mr. Dean. What's going on, Daniel? Live forever. I haven't seen you in a minute. Good to see you, buddy. But again, anyhow, this is the new universal shift cable from Locar that our friends from Summit Racing hooked us up with, and this will be going inside Project Spirit. This is a universal kit, and this will allow us to hook up to that shifter inside of Project Spirit. So that's how that all works. You've been doing TikTok? Man, I'm too old to do TikTok. Or at least that's what I tell everybody. All righty. So we are now almost at the top of the hour. So let's get caught up with... Oh, Ian, you ornery cuss. Wouldn't have you any other way, man. It's good to see you. I was hoping you'd at least be able to poke in tonight, but I know you've been having a rough way to go lately. So I've been thinking of you. I know you're not the religious type. Thank you, Daniel. It's good to have you back on. Ian, I'll tell you right now. Ian, Don't say that. Your donation bought this. Your donation bought this. And this is going to be going back into Project Spirit. Your donation helped this. Your donation helped this. Real quick, let's take a moment here. Let's take a moment here and thank a special friend. Gamer Ian, BRFC, was one of the contributors during a live stream that we did a little over a week ago now, and the main part of that live stream was well over 10 hours. All total, I streamed right close to 12 hours. Now, saying that, I was doing it to raise a little bit of money for the channel to help the project, help the project along. All, basically in some way, shape, or form, it was to help all the project cars. But it was one of those deals that needed a little bit of, to make it go faster, needed a little bit of support. I mean, it's going to happen one way or the other, but it helped, wanted a little bit of help. Well, Mr. Gamerin, BRFC, donated directly to the channel, and his donation went in to buying this brand new shift cable, which will be installed to the new transmission for Project Spirit, allowing Princess Faye to feel very comfortable driving Project Spirit. So when Project Lena starts making her trips to the shop to have all the little bugs and just the usual things that kind of crop up with having a newer style vehicle. I just turned on the computer, and the fan for the computer is turned on. So I'm doing fantastic. I'm having a great time. But as I was started to saying, Gamerian BRFC, he donated, and because of him, we were able to purchase that shift cable much, much sooner, and basically speeding up the process, freeing up a little bit of money for us so we can make sure that this project goes off without a hitch. And in essence, in a roundabout way, he's actually helping, he actually helped benefit Project Lena too, because Project Lena is going to be seeing a lot of shop time here very soon. And we're talking where we're looking at catalytic converters, custom mufflers to give her a more throaty sound. Basically having her transmission serviced and possibly having a shift improvement kit installed as well. Probably even having some other stuff done to like the onboard ECU. We're looking at possibly even going into maybe doing some sort of performance body kit. That is on the table. We're looking at custom wheels. We are looking at setting up Project Lena as if she was going to be going to the track, even though she will never see track time. It's just to basically make sure that it is do-it-yourself budget hot rodding. So we're going to basically, turn Project Lena into a nice, mild performance cruiser. And because of Gamery and BRFC, we are now that much closer to making that happen. So his donation was greatly needed. And because of him, we're that much further into this project. So I'm going to take a moment right now. If you're watching the playback, or you're in the live stream right now, and you're not linked up with Gamery and BRFC, you are missing out. I have been to that man's live streams, and let me tell you, he puts on a phenomenal show. Warm, wonderful personality on his channel. He's an amazing friend outside of his channel. And let me also say that he's one of the people that I genuinely oftentimes look up to in so many different ways. And yes, I know he's younger, but some heroes come in all sizes and shapes. And Ian is one of mine. And because of his donation, I don't feel that I have to shout him out, but I feel it's necessary to shout him out because just goes to show how lucky I am to have him as a friend. So Ian, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. You're one of the greats. You're one of the greats. You're younger than me, man. You're younger than me, because I'm getting to be an old man now. My birthday's coming up soon. I can't believe it. This month is over halfway over. August the 7th is my 41st birthday. I'm now getting well, I'm now past that I'm in my I'm well into my middle ages. Okay. I got to be real. I'm getting old. But I'm not too old to still turn wrenches and get out there and play with cars. I still have fun. I still have fun. So we covered all the bases today. This is one of the first live streams that I was able to actually go into complete detail on how these projects work, and how the whole mentality behind it works. And I know, yeah, he is right. It can be boring. That's still that. Yeah, I'm still older though. I'm still older. um, you're still younger than me, so don't even. it, I always like to tease and say I've been teasing saying Ian's my brother from another mother. Yeah, I started saying that. He's a good guy. He really is. He's an amazing friend, and wouldn't have him any other way. He's a great person. All right, so tomorrow we will not be streaming. It looks like we will not be streaming. It'll be loaded content. Ian, hang on here. You piece of puppy poo. I'm going to restart it again. Let's try this again. We're going to start this computer up, and you guys want a sneak peek? A sneaky peeky? There we go. There we go. You turd. Oh, that's all right. Zelda, we just showed her off a little while ago. She wanted to go play. She wants to go play and explore and do kitten stuff. There's your sneak peek. I won't say no more. Ian, that's going to be loaded, provided everything goes okay tomorrow. How in the world? Guess I'm losing my mind. So that is the plan. Give it to you guys. All right. All right. So in a nutshell, the video for Lena is pretty well done. I just got to put the opening and the ending. That's it. On top of that, while I'm also discussing it, the one for Project Spirit is pretty well. We can release one. Actually, give me. give me about a half an hour and I can have one ready. I can have one ready for you. All it takes is about half an hour for me, if that. Because there's one that I've been wanting to do, but I can't tell you too much. There's one that I've been wanting to do. Let's see if I can get this freaking thing to work this time. There's one that I've been wanting to do. Heads up, the one for Project Lena is going to be about, yeah, I've got one that I've been wanting to do, but I can't tell you no more. It's based on the one that I did before, but a little bit better. Okay, a little bit better than the original. You'll love it. I can't tell you no more. You're just gonna have to wait and see. So you guys will get your video on Lena, and if all goes well, the one on Spirit will be done. Hopefully, soon. I've been having problems getting it to load to the computer. So we've had some problems, but it should be done probably before you know it. I'm actually running it through right now. So after this, after I shut down, I'll be putting the finishing touches on the one for, if this one, basically I'll do the one for Lena, do an aircraft remover, and then finish the one for Spirit. And then hopefully, if all goes well, I'll release those videos tomorrow. You guys might have to stay after me because, I get busy. I get busy working on stuff, but hopefully if all goes well. Yeah. So you guys get your videos. All right. So we actually went a little over the 2-hour marker, which no big deal, helps out the watch time tremendously. We are waiting on a new part to come in for the capture card, and we might make once a week where we stream Legend of Zelda. Real quick, let me get y'all caught up to speed on that. When we start streaming Legend of Zelda, I am going to redo the first quest. The last time I did the first quest, when I did it live, we had troubles. I could do a better job, and I want to prove that I could do a better job. And then we're going to go back to doing Breath of the Wild. I'm going to restart that one from the very beginning, and we're going to do that one in a marathon stream. We're going to stream that one again in a marathon, and we're going to actually get the 12 hours from beginning to end. Then, after we do that marathon stream, from the save file, when we beat the first quest on the original Legend of Zelda, basically I'm going to pick up from there because it's going to require planning. This is why we're doing it that way, Ian. We're going to basically start it, the second quest, and that's probably going to be a marathon stream from hell because I'm going to need Princess Faye to actually help me with this. This is not a joke. The second quest in the original Legend of Zelda is absolutely 110%, 110% a bitch. You think that the first quest in Legend of Zelda is cryptic as hell? No, doesn't even come close to how cryptic the second one is. The second quest is so ridiculous that from start to finish, I promise you, you will hear rage. I will cuss that thing out from start to finish. But I don't think anyone has actually streamed it. We'll do one hell of a stream out of it, and we're going to get as close to the end as possible in the first stream, come back and probably have to finish it up in the second stream. It is going to be a pain in the ass from beginning to end, I promise you. But basically, I want to prepare and do this right. Ian, I'm doing it right for you, man, okay? But once that part comes in, we'll do a test stream, and I definitely want to make sure that everything is hunky-dory from start to finish, okay? You thought that first one was a bit, You're going to look at the second one and go, motherfucker, I asked you to do this. I am so sorry. That's not a joke. And I also want to do a couple, at least once a week, we're going to try to play some old Atari games. Okay. Bullshit. You've heard me rage. So that is, you know, that is definitely on the table. We're going to definitely do that for you guys. We're also going to start looking at doing try to do once. So basically, it'll be twice a week where we do video games. The rest of the time, it's going to be what we normally do. But we're definitely going to start looking at where we're going to begin looking at doing actual streaming. Streaming of, how do I put this? Old Atari games, and we're definitely on the table now. I'm going to look at beating the world record for Space Invaders. Not a joke. I'm gonna go after the record. I want you guys there. Twin Galaxies, get ready to add Prince Magnum to that list. It might take me a while to get. You guys are gonna watch the practice runs, and it's gonna be nonstop practice runs. And then when I feel like I do it, we're gonna try for it. It's probably gonna be that one time. It's like complete total fucking accident. It was an accident. I didn't mean to get the world record, but it's there. So it'll be in a live stream, and it'll be done on an Atari Flashback. The Atari Flashback does have the capability where you can do save spots, but we will not do that. We will do it live, uncut, and if I don't succeed, then I didn't succeed. That's how it's going to be. So every attempt will be an attempt at the world record, but we're just going to continue that progression. So once a week, we will probably be looking at that. Or we'll just play around and goof off with other old Atari video games. I know Stampede would be a fun one, or get Princess Faye and I both playing at the same time. God only knows what will happen. Playing Combat, oh my God, that's so much fun. Princess Faye kicks my ass at Combat all the time. The video game Combat, it's fun. She kicks my ass regularly at Combat. Another one that I thought about playing a little bit of is, might try Pitfall. Just other games like that. We're talking old Atari games, and I thought it would be a lot of fun to get out there and just play some old Atari games. I think it would be fun. Come on, how much more fun can you ask for? Old Atari games. Come on, man. Go red. If you're going to talk retro, we're going to go retro. So twice a week, we're going to look at doing that. It might take a little bit to get it off the ground, but we'll see what happens. Okay. So that's the plan. That's the plan, my man. I love Pitfall. I love those old games, and playing. There's some shooter games. Does Frostbite. No, we're actually going to be playing them from console. Technically, the Atari Flashback, Dig Dug is another great one. The Atari Flashback, technically, the Atari Flashback is kind of like an emulator because you could do save spots, but you have to start the game from beginning. Here's the thing, though. If you're doing a world record sort of thing, you can. They have Twin Galaxies does have the thing for emulator, but there's certain rules with that. The Flashback is still a console, and so we're going to be definitely doing it from console. And I will be doing it with actual Atari style controllers, the actual joystick controllers. So we're going to be doing this for real. The Atari Flashback does have similar switches to the actual Atari, the different switches and things like that. It's set up almost like the original Atari, but it's a lot lighter. And I mean, the technology has come a long ways. As a matter of fact, it doesn't even use like those stupid little prongs and things like that. The Atari Flashback actually has an HDMI cable that hooks in. So it'll plug directly into the capture card. So we'll not none of that retrofitting and all that other stuff. We will not have to worry about any of that. so it'll be a direct fit from start to finish. So the first game that we will stream from the flashback will be Space Invaders. Heads up, it's going to be fun. Now I have considered doing emulator, but nah. If I can get the real games, I'm going to do that. And real quick, I kind of wish Nintendo would release for the Switch. I wish they would release some of the original Ninja Turtle games, the first two. The one player, I wish they would release that because I would like to try to beat that game, on the Nintendo Switch. Let you guys see that because that game is fucking hard as hell. Another one that I would love to play is Ninja Turtles 2, the arcade game. I would love to play that one for you guys. And we have actually beaten that game here on the Prince Magnum channel in a live stream. Last year we did that. But we did that on emulator. My old partner, Jammin' John, actually set us up with an emulator, and we played actually using Nintendo Switch controls. It was fun. Of course, last year we also did Top Gear, Danny Sullivan's Indie Heat. We did Super Off Road for for the NES. That was, oh my god, that was so much fun. Did a lot of games last year. Played Batman Return of the Joker. Well, I didn't quite fully beat Batman, but Batman Return of the Joker we did, and that was awesome. That was so much fun to beat that game for you guys live. Let's see. That one took me about 2-3 streams to beat because that game is just such a bitch. But it's fun. Matter of fact, doing the original Batman game, I went for like 2 hours and my hands cramped up, and legitimately after the first stream, my hands were all wrapped up just trying to get the pain out of them. It was bad. But Jammin' John was like, dude, man, he said that was impressive. He said if anybody could do it, it was you. He's like, Prince Magnum, the retro game video, video game wizard, right there. He's like, that's straight up old school. He's like, I don't know how. He's like, I couldn't do it. I was like, you want to try it? No, I'm good. I'd get my ass kicked. And I'm like, yeah, it's not easy. But it was fun. So that's pretty much it. That's the excitement right now. We have been doing some test stuff with the capture card and came out with some pretty cool stuff, which I'll be working on that video for Queen Bee's late birthday present, which I'm just about done with that too now. So we are going to expand back again into video games a little bit more, but we're talking certain games. We're going to definitely stay with Legend of Zelda. And once it comes out, Legend of Zelda 2, well, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2 was definitely one that I don't care if I've got to get in line and wait overnight to get that game. I am going to get that motherfucking game. As a matter of fact, I actually saved the trailer for that game. But I did find out that because of COVID that Breath of the Wild 2 is going to be delayed, but I'm still chomping. I'm chomping at the bit. I want that game. I've already said it, and it's supposed to use the same game engine as Breath of the Wild. So yeah, GameStop. Yeah, they'll probably have it. I'm probably going to go in and talk to them and see if basically make sure that they know that I need that game. And as soon as I got that game in hand, we'll be getting the DLC right away. No question about it. So that's pretty much it. Like I said, we're gonna try to get where we're gonna do a little bit more with video games, because I know a lot of you guys would like to see some retro games. And of course, I know you guys really enjoyed Breath of the Wild. Ian was there, and he got to see the ending, and I know he enjoyed it. Which with the capture card from Retro Brady, which we've got it here. I've been using the fuck out of that thing. Well, it's not ready for pre-order yet. It's not quite ready because the prices haven't been set or anything like that. But I'm going to go over and talk to him at GameStop and basically talk to them, do you know when the pre-order is going to be? And that sort of thing. And if I can get it on pre-order as soon as possible, I'm basically going to tell them, look, here's my phone number. The moment that it's released for I want the cartridge and I want it bad. So the moment that damn thing is on pre-order, you let me know the price. I will come in with the cash and I'm going to slam that friggin' cash down on your counter. And I want that thing, as the moment it comes in, I want that son of a gun in hand. Which, that probably doesn't surprise any of you because of my passion for Legend of Zelda. And eventually I might attempt Legend of Zelda, A Link to the Past at some point. If it ever is released for the Switch on the Nintendo 64, or I decide to get an old Nintendo 64, we might consider doing Ocarina of Time, or we might, and Majora's Mask as well. We might look at doing that, or we may even see about downloading an emulator to do those games at a later date. That is definitely on the table as well, if need be. I love those games, So we're definitely going to be looking at that, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So who knows where the Prince Magnum channel is going to go? I definitely want to stay in the retro world of video games when it comes to that, but by and large, it's always going to be custom cars and romance at the forefront, along with sobriety and just having fun. That's, if there's one thing you guys are going to learn from me, it's all about having a good time. And we do that. We have a lot of fun. All right. So that's a lot of chit chat, tallywhack. What's going on, filming? The ultimate grave taker. Welcome to the live stream. We're actually getting ready to wind it down, man. Getting ready to wind it down for the night. We did the unboxing of the brand new Shift cable for the automatic transmission that's going to be going into Project Spirit. We kind of walked around Project Spirit a little bit. For some reason, when you do this and then you just give the right face, it's like, it just doesn't look right. Anyhow, Queen's gonna lose it with me. I am doing fantabulous, real quick, I actually got called into work. My backup maintenance guy, he got into trouble and had to be sent home. He got into trouble. He pissed off the bosses a little bit. We'll probably talk about that in an upcoming live stream, about how not to, fuck things up for yourself at work. Just be smart. God. Hi, Galaxy. She doesn't like getting on camera anymore. When she was a kid, she loved the attention. But now she's just like, Galaxy's just on, it's just Galaxy. And of course, y'all seen Taver, and if little Zelda came in right now, we'd have to put her on camera again. So, but she's doing good. Everybody's doing pretty good. Princess Faye will be home later. She's gonna go hang out with our neighbor that we got little Zelda from, and that'll be fun, I'm sure, because they're getting along wonderfully. Which is really nice. It's nice to be able to get, that she's getting along with our neighbor so fantastically. That's just been, yeah, she's back over there. I think she's hiding from Zelda. Zelda and Galaxy don't exactly get along. They don't, it's really funny. Galaxy will go hissing at Zelda, and Zelda will do this little hiss. And because she's so small, her hissing is just adorable. She'll go, like that. And it's like, one long one will do, sweetie. One long one will do. But she's got to put like several of them and several little ones in a row. She just doesn't have the lung capacity, I guess, just yet. It's cute. It is so gosh darn cute to see. So again, here, real quick. Here's the exact price of how much that shift cable cost us. So $65.94 after shipping and handling. So they call it delivering and handling. What the fuck ever. Anyhow, so we have that here now, and they took good care of us. So Summit Racing, and again, when I say this is the real deal right there, that's on this receipt. This is from Summit Racing. He goes, yeah, it's funny as hell. It's cute. I'm stuck at work, but I was going to go to this car show, but I'm stuck at work that day. You know, then wick pricks. I might see if I can sneak over there and live stream some, but I don't know if it's going to happen. You know, but that's just one of those things. I know there's a few car shows and car meets coming up. No, that sounds totally different in bed. Anyhow. Anyhow. That's bad. That's bad. Oh, Prince Magnum, you just traveled down the wrong rabbit hole there. Oh, that's bad. Oh, man. Oh, that was bad. Oh, I should be ashamed of myself, but I'm not. All right. You guys got, like, you sick bastard. Oh, my gosh. And currently, right now, while I'm thinking about it, before we begin shutting it down, let's see. I totally went there. Why not? You know, real quick, because the pandemic has started getting a little bit more scary again where I live. We're just waiting on the filters for these. And we'll talk more about these later once the filters come in and I'm able to explain all of that. Now, much bigger than that. Anyhow, so we'll talk more about these once those parts come in. We are totally having usable files that are preventing you to remove the maker from being safe. Please check files. Okay, that is embedded options or remove files and try again, you motherfuckers. I'm willing to bet. Something I'm just going to have to tinker fuck with. Weird. Okay. Oh, I'm having problems with my movie maker. It's being a bitch. I've looked this thing over and over and over again, and there's no reason it should not be giving me this many problems. But it is. You'd be giving me any shit, you mother. Anyhow, never had this many problems out of my old computer. So that is the plan. All right. So heads up, we got a lot of, you know, we're going to be adding a lot to the channel and everything. You know, we will be doing an in your face, kind of talking about the pandemic continuing. Yeah. You should hear some of them that I've got. Working on cars, I promise you, you will get creative with your cussing. You will. You know, you will get very creative with your cussing. But anyhow, So I know sometime here this next week we've got to go into we got to talk more about personal self defense stuff. We got to talk about stuff like that. And basically looking at local laws and blah 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 blah. You know, saying that I'm bad. There's an old line I used to use. I'm not allowed to use it anymore. Princess Faye, she's like, yeah, you can't say that anymore. You're not allowed. And the line goes like, there's this line that I used to use when other women, I would be flirting with women. They'd say, "Oh, you're bad." I would turn. I would turn around and say to that woman, "You don't know that. I'm like shoes. You got to try me on first, see whether or not you like me." Yeah. I don't use that line anymore. I'm not allowed to. Now Queen's like, "Oh my God, you sick puppy." Come here, you kitten. Oh, snuggle, snuggle, snuggle. Oh, fine. She wants to go play. Come here, you. Come here, you. You're gonna get in trouble. No, I didn't use it. I just said that's what I used to use, so I'm okay. She doesn't want to. She doesn't want to be held right now. She yelled at me. Did you hear that? She yelled at me. I want to go be a kitten. Do kitten stuff and get into stuff I probably shouldn't. But anyhow, I do need to shut it down. Give us a hiss. Here. You sure you're a cat and not a damn monkey? You just hanging around? Ah! Well, I'm glad you're still here, Ian. Oh, good. All right, so I do need to kind of shut it down for the night. So that brings us to a good stopping point. And yes, I need to go take care of the blood sugar. What's going on, Harrison? See, every time I go to shut it down, someone new comes in. That's all good, though. That's all good. So heads up. Yes, I'll go eat. I'll go take care of blood sugar. So tomorrow we will not be streaming. It'll be loaded content. And yes, Ian, you will get your video on Project Lena. That's at the forefront. I've got to figure out what the flip is going with this tinker fuck mess up over here, why it's not taking the video for Project Spirit. So we'll work on that. More problems. But anyhow, all right, so that brings us to a good stopping point. Harrison, I got to shut it down. Queen's getting on to me. I got to go take care of my blood sugar, okay? We went a little longer than anticipated. And I still got to go to work tomorrow morning at 4 o'clock. I got to be there. So All right, so I'm going to jump off of here. That brings us to the point where I get to say to all of you, get out there and work on a project. I don't care what it is. Just do something with yourself. Remember, idle hands and a creative mind go together like oil and water. If you have a sweetheart, sweep them off their feet and do something special for them today. And as always, for all of you out there, every last one of you, if no one out there has told any of you that they love you today, Prince Magnum does. God bless you and have a happy 24. Thank you.